wanted to talk a little bit about what Claire's talking about today. So she's talking about the youth player development and how it relates to long-term player development, and how it relates to the continued pipeline from 6 to 18 years old for her, and the impact it has on senior sport. She's talking about long-term coaching development. Often coaches are forgotten about in the development space. Parent involvement and how to do it successfully. Girls cricket development, and organizing coaching forums and the benefit of coaching forums, so communication amongst coaches, and valid police clearances. Now, this comes from a question that was actually asked at a previous webinar, and I'll get Claire to talk more about all of this. So, okay, so Claire, I mean, I've done a very basic description of you and stuff. I don't know if you wanted to elaborate a little bit more about yourself and your involvement in sport and youth sport, and then leading up to senior sport.
You actually did a very good job there. I'm not so much involved from a very young age, like 6 years old, but I do spend some time with our mini cricket coordinator. So if he sees anything, and the ladies are also very involved when it comes to the mini cricket festivals, we'll go and we'll kind of do some talent ID there and help out with the coaching of the kids at the mini cricket festival. And that's basically my involvement at mini cricket level. But like I said, I chat a lot to the coordinator there, and then as they grow up, there's the under 13s in the pipeline. But we see a lot of possibly like 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds. When we have our under 13 festival. So then that's when I get to see that age group. Then obviously going up the primary school league that we have, and in the high school league that we have as well.
It's very important for you as the senior coach to actually know what's happening and know what's going on in the various phases. So you're not just surprised when a kid just appears from nowhere. So I'm jumping the gun a bit, but how do you keep this contact going in communication with your coaches?
Yeah, so I'm actually really, really lucky because, like I said, I keep in communication with the coordinators. So with the mini cricket coordinator, he'll say to me, like, okay, there's a girl here, come and have a look. Or when we have the festival, she's from this school, from that school, and that goes into the hubs as well. So in the hub coaching system, the coach would also give me some information and say, have a look at this one, have a look at that one. Or even when we have trials, then we'll obviously send those players to trials. But especially the younger ones, there's a program called the Solomon Mshlangu program, and Coach Lusindiswe, Jerry Malazwana, he's in charge of that. And him and I have a really good relationship. So when he's having his sessions, I can't always get to them. And then he'll say to me, Coach, there's a girl here, come and have a look. So I've got a really good relationship with the coaches at the union who give me feedback if they see anything wherever they are. Then I'll get a quick WhatsApp to say, Coach, there's somebody at this school, or there's a girl here at the Nets. I think she's worth having a look at. So communication like that it's really good on our side between the coaches.
So now you've actually started in the first part of what you're going to talk about. So what is the importance of long-term player development?
Yeah, so I wanted to kind of just touch on this part because besides the actual facts surrounding it, we tend to keep them in separate boxes. So from ages 6 to 8, you need to do this. But then ages 10 to 30, you need to do this, and so on and so forth. But if we have a continuum and the coaches at this age group speak to the coaches at the next age group and speak to the coaches at the next age group, we'll be able to continue that player's development all the way along, so that we know that at the end of the day, it's not just about the outcome. So it's not just about the win. When kids are 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, they don't want to worry about to win so much. It's nice to win and they're excited to win, but the main part is about having fun. And if we can take that all the way through our pipeline and through the players' development and keep connected and keep interconnected, they'll never lose that fun part because they'll be having fun while they're learning. And then they want to learn more and they want to grow more. So if we can have our coaches all on the same wavelength with that, that is fantastic. And that's what I'm trying to do within my goals pipeline, where our under 13 coach and under 16 coaches and myself and the managers We all know that at this level, this is what we're looking at. Remember about the fun. At under 16 level, this is what we're looking at. Remember about the fun. So when they get to me, I don't have to kind of still be teaching about the front foot defense, you know, because it's already ingrained. But the girls are still having fun learning new things at under 19 level. And if they go on and play international cricket, they walk onto the field knowing that, yes, I enjoy batting, or yes, I enjoy bowling. I'm going to have fun with this, but my skills that I've learned is going to back me all the way.
No, you know, it's often for coaches, they come and they're given like a certain age group, and they got to coach that age group. And how do they facilitate the communication between? I mean, you're doing it from a quite a senior level, but in the schools, are there any tips or anything like that you've got for coaches to assist them in facilitating their communication between all the different age groups and you know, spotting a player or spotting various players and getting a proper development program going for all the kids?
Yeah, so it's got to be a buy-in, I think, from your stakeholders at the school. So your coaches at that is involved with your sport, they've got to buy into helping out as well, and not just kind of focusing on their age group only. So if I'm coaching 6 to 10-year-olds, but I see a 13-year-old, that my eye is still open towards a 13-year-old to tell the other coach, listen, coach, there's somebody here that I think you should maybe see. Along with the school, the head of sport, the principal, whoever's involved in the sports, to get them on board as well and help them and explain to them your vision of what you're trying to do, so that the development is continuous throughout the ages as the players go from grade 1 to grade 7 within your school, and then again from grade 8 to matric, obviously in high school. But the importance there is the communication between the school, the parents, and the coaches within that sports pipeline at the school.
So in part of this, I'm just actually thinking myself that maybe there should also be a good communication between the sporting union, doesn't matter what sporting union it is, and the schools themselves. So you can, you know, so maybe they can even get assistance from the sporting union in sorting out like a development or program going at the school, or getting like a long-term vision going at the school.
Yeah, 100%. So at Western Province Cricket Union, we've got, or Cricket Association, we've got the youth coordinator. So everybody in each province has a youth coordinator. So the schools then communicate with a youth coordinator if they want to set up a meeting or anything like that. And then she will set the meeting up, and then we'll go to that school and they'll give us the information. We recently had a meeting with the primary school, well, last year sometime. And they had so many girls interested in playing cricket. You know, at primary school level, it was something like 40 girls that were new and wanted to start playing cricket. So we went, had a meeting, and we were going to actually do something in this new year. And obviously, with the COVID that hit, that was not possible. But things like that, where the union is open to having meetings to see where we can help, put in programs or processes to help schools develop, especially when it comes to it in my sport, within girls cricket at primary school level. And especially if you have coaches that are interested in coaching girls at that age, who can help that development pathway.
One of the questions that came up last week, and I think you kind of like in the place the person that can actually help with that, is that one of the coaches asked that he coaches baseball, and he said that it's very difficult for him to come in the field, especially the first time he's approaching kids with his sport, especially not being one of the mainstream sports. And he comes in the field, he tries to coach kids, and he battles with that first bit of communication, the first bit of contact. Now, I think in you've been a cricket coach in some of the girls' schools, you do face that kind of it's the same kind of problem, because there's a certain stigma behind how cricket's supposedly only meant to be a male sport, but that's, as we know, that's a lot of rubbish. How do you deal with that first contact, first approach?
So let me go back a couple of years. It's only now really becoming prevalent in the primary schools, which is great. I used to come into cricket, girls cricket, only at high school level when I was still in PE. And the first step that I had to take was kind of just build a rapport with the girls. You know, you knew these girls are new. They're here because they want to have some fun with their friends. That's the first point of contact. The friends are playing and they want to be with their friends after school. What I found is that if you make training fun, even if you have hockey sticks with you or whatever, you can find out that there's a lot of netball goals, there are a lot of hockey goals. There were few tennis players, but the hockey goals were quite prevalent. And if you can play something like a game of rounders that everybody kind of knows through physical education at schools already, just to build that rapport and build a fun setup, and then you slowly put in more sports-specific skills into those sessions. And that's how the girls grew, and that's how they grew to enjoy cricket more as well. And you end up building this environment and this team environment where the girls are really having a lot of fun and they're learning. Again, it came down to fun and learning because they were so new to the sport. So if you can make it fun and have the girls keep coming back and slowly introduce the new things from your particular sport into your practices, I think that worked for me, and it worked really well. Even if you start with tennis balls, catching tennis balls or hitting tennis balls, and then moving over to the harder balls and building it up like that, that's also a way to then reduce getting hurt or being scared of getting hurt. You know, so just slowly introducing skills, and then also building that rapport with the girls, and having a fun, controlled learning environment for them as well.
Just one thing, whilst I'm asking Claire questions, if anybody wants to ask any questions, they can submit questions. If they something triggers something in thought of yours or something like that, you can ask the questions. This is quite an interactive session, so Claire can answer certain questions that come through. So Claire, in talking about that, so now we're actually moving our shift onto the importance of the coach. So it's not only the long-term player development, it's also the coaching development. How important is that, and what do you guys do? Because from Western Province side, I mean, you guys have had Mohammed also coming through and helping develop coaches. What do you guys do to help coaching development?
Yeah, so there's this program called a Coaches Forum, and it is everywhere throughout all the provinces and the unions across South Africa. And then in these forums, there are different topics that the coaching manager will set up, get a speaker in, and then they'll chat about whatever topic is on that day. I think Munib did the fitness aspect at one forum. We had a forum on how important sleep is and how important sleep patterns are per individual. And it's small things that you would think doesn't matter, but it really did, kind of like the sleep thing, where, say, Sean, you would need to go to bed early because you're an early riser and your optimal amount of sleep falls in that space, where I would need to go to bed at 12 o'clock and wake up early, but anything before that wouldn't be optimal for me for my play the next day. You see, so just from that one forum, I learned a lot about sleep. And it's not just about, say, there's umpires that come in and chat to us about new rules. There's just a whole lot of different aspects that the forums do cover. And I just feel it's important because people learn so much. You know, we had a coaching conference, and the different speakers spoke on from mental strength, processes, things like that, all the way through to gender-based violence, all in one conference. So it's really, these forums really touch on things that are pertinent to a coach within any sport.
I've just been asked a question from Glynis. She says, Claire, how do you handle the various transitions between the various age groups and then the provincial, national, and international transition?
Good question. So the various age groups, like I said, it's along that long-term play development and knowing in which age group you are busy with. Where your beginners, or your under 13s, I should say, it's a lot of focus on doing the basics and ingraining the good basics, and ingraining that into the kids really well. But the point is about development and growth of the player and the skill at that point, and not so much the outcome and the winning. As you go along the pipeline, the outcome starts to shift and to change. And when you get to under 19, that's when you start to train kind of on, or to focus kind of on winning as well. But the point is train to win. So you're putting in processes and to give you the best opportunity to win. It's not going to guarantee you a win. And then when it comes to national players and senior elite players, I'm trying to now shift focus from me telling them what to do to them taking responsibility for their game. So I would have a session, and all I would say to them is, we've got net sessions today, come to training prepared. You know, so the responsibility and the onus is on them to come to training knowing what they want to work on, knowing that this is the team we'll be playing against, these are the bowlers we'll probably be facing, what is my plan to face those bowlers, what is my processes that I need to do to give myself the optimal opportunity to be successful. So that's kind of the way I go through the pipeline and coach at the different levels. And then really when you get to nationals, they'll get feedback from the consultants up there. I'll receive that feedback as well. And then again, we'll both work towards improving in those specific areas, but again, it's player-led. So I take my lead from the players on how they want to do things, and I'll give my opinion on if there might be a better way to do it. You know, so that's a very much a give and take situation when it comes to national players.
We in a seminar that I did with Gary Kirsten, he spoke very much about developing the individual, and actually used his World Cup winning Indian side, where he said that one of the best things that ever happened to him was that when he left India, when he resigned from India, Sachin Tendulkar's wife came up to him and said, "Thank you for making my husband a better player." She didn't talk about his cover drive or his whatever it is. It was improving the individual and working on the individual. And Gary says that if you work on the individual, the results will come, because everybody knows how to win. You look at kids that are at the age of 6 years old and they're just in the KFC mini cricket program, and those kids want to win. And it doesn't matter if they lose the game, they still think they've won it. They as long as the enjoyment's up there and they're really having fun, they will be able to, they believe they've won. And it's not something that you have to instill into kids. I think the strategies that you're talking about later come later, as you get a strategy and how you do it, and then analyzing the opposition and all that kind of stuff. But the actual will to win comes automatically in kids.
Yeah, 100% there. I don't think we ever lose the will or the want to win. I ever think that we kind of lose our way in the middle, where winning becomes everything. And we're not that child anymore, that childlike innocence anymore, where, yes, it's nice to win and we want to win, but it's okay if we don't. So we kind of lose the way in the middle. And yes, we're talking about where the focus still shouldn't be on winning. You know, the focus, yes, the outcome ideally would be a win, but what can you control in the middle? So you can control your processes, you can control your thoughts, you can control how you go about things, and then you can control your attitude, and you can control you taking responsibility. And I think if we instill that in kids in that middle phase, and I'm talking probably high school phase, that would be ideal and important for them when they get out of high school, that when winning does become important, more important, I should say, at the senior level, when contracts and things get involved, they would still not attach so much emotion to an outcome of success, and attach the emotion to positives of, did I employ my processes properly? Did I go about taking responsibility for my space? You know, and not just focus on a negative outcome if you lose, but there's also positives in getting those processes that you have employed in your own game, getting them right, and then just tweaking here and there if you need to get the outcome to, how do I say, to increase the opportunity of a more successful outcome. We can put it like that.
Last week, 2 weeks ago, I did a presentation where I kind of like got three different kinds of coaches. I had your professional coach, your coach that comes into the school that is only coaching a sport. That coach isn't a teacher or anything else in the school, just coaches a sport. Or your external coach, where you take a kid for higher training or different kind of coaching outside of the school. Then your second coach, I said, was your school teacher, who is a teacher and then takes lessons learned from school into the sporting field. But often that teacher gets less focus in your development plan, your coaching plan, than what a professional coach does, but expected to get the same result. And then finally, you get your volunteer coach, who's a coach that comes in, often carries like the unsung hero kind of coach, who often carries the equipment and stuff. So there must be certain kind of coaching plans that you can get in place for all three of these kind of people to actually work together and work towards the benefit of the actual individual child. So, how important is it to actually have development plans for each one of these kind of coaches?
Yeah, so to me, like, I've got so much respect for teachers who coach at school afterwards, and for volunteers especially as well, who give up their time and with their families and everything to coach after having a long day of teaching, and they're still having that energy to go about and still coach their sports at school. I think it starts with all coaches across that sphere, kind of having respect for each other, not being scared to go and ask for help if needed. I can still learn from somebody who's coaching beginners, because I don't know everything. They might read to me and strike an idea in my mind. And if we have a mutual respect across those coaching lines, you'll have a really good then working relationship, because we'll be open to communication and open to asking questions from other coaches that we could be struggling with. A simple thing, maybe the teacher that coaches knows how to work with the kids a little bit better than me, that's an external coach and not a teacher. So that in that way, the teacher could be helping me better in helping to control kids, or helping to get to know the kids better. And with regards to development, if you send all those coaches, say, to a coaching forum, and not just your elite coaches, that's going to benefit everybody. So if there's a KFC mini cricket course, then send the relevant age group coaches to that course. It's only going to benefit them. If there's a coaching forum that has specific, that is good for you to know as a coach at your age group or along all the age groups, then send them to the forum. It's free. You don't have to pay for the forum. You just have to get there. And I feel that's how we can grow our coaches along all the pipelines at schools, outside of schools as well, is that if you can attend these free forums, it'll be good for you. If you can speak to your coaches openly and honestly and ask for help and ask for guidance, it'll be good for you. If you stop growing as a coach, then to me, what's the point of coaching anymore? Because then I think you've lost a bit of that passion that you started off with. Because if you've stopped growing or stop having the want to grow, then where are you going to go to? You're kind of just going to be stuck in that little box that you put yourself in. But if you're willing to keep on growing and keep on learning, I feel that you'll just become a better and better coach. That teacher that coaches this age group could then move on to the next age group, because he or she has grown so much. Then the volunteer would then step into that age group. So then you get a pipeline of coaches moving through the age groups, as well as your kids moving through the age groups, and moving well through the age groups and being equipped because of the coaches who are allowing themselves to grow. And when they grow, the kids and the players can also grow.
There's a lot of focus is placed on your A teams or your first sides, but especially when you look at the younger age groups, you've got some late developers. I mean, even if you look at higher age groups, you've got a guy like Fanny de Villiers only started playing cricket after he left school. So, there is an importance also in giving a certain quality of coaching to your B, C, D, E teams. What I also believe that because your BCD teams might not get, I understand you want some of your top coaches to coach the A side and stuff, but if those guys don't get the same kind of treatment, you get a huge drop off with kids in sport. I mean, we see with like in the mini cricket side, you got 128,000 kids that took part last year, and they're having fun and they're enjoying it. But if you look at like the hardball cricket side from a junior level, I really see with my nephews at 7, 8 years old, they say, well, they're bored. They don't want to play anymore because the fun part of that game is not there. So how important is it to actually develop all your coaches to they don't have to be at the same level, but at least enough to get the kid the basic to basic levels they can actually enjoy themselves and through their own abilities grow.
Yeah, it's like I said earlier on, if you don't want to grow as a coach, then you put yourself in a box, and that's going to be detrimental to the kids. Doesn't matter where you're coaching. if I can put it with regards to girls cricket or women's cricket, normally those girls or those teams just get given any coach, you know. And I found what's happening now is that coaches are now getting really involved and interested in girls cricket. So now what's happening is you're getting quality coaches who are interested in the girls cricket coaching those girls. And what's happening is the girls are wanting to come back because they're learning and because they're having fun as well. The biggest point is that it doesn't matter what team you are coaching. You're coaching cricket. It doesn't matter if it's a girls team, a boys team, a C team, a D team, an E team. You're coaching cricket. And if you can improve the player and grow the player, I mean, that player playing in the D team might want to then move to the C team. So how can you best equip the player so that he moves up to C team, and then the next coach possibly moves up to B team? And that could be your small goals that coaches can set with players. The biggest thing is for coaches to understand as well, and the school or the union or the club to understand as well, that there is that point of late developers. You know, like you said, you might be playing C team, D team, E team even, and then later on you're in high school playing grade 9 playing first team, or grade 10 playing first team, or even out of school. And now you're all of a sudden at national academy because now you're producing some brilliant spells, or you're producing some really good batting. Coaches need to be aware of that. And just because you're coaching a minor team doesn't mean that your standards of coaching need to drop. You know, you want those players to come back. And ultimately, that's the point. You want your players to come back. You want your players to grow. And you want your players to move on from you. So as a coach, I don't want my players to just stick with me as a coach. I want them to move on. They must move on to academy. They must move on to playing international cricket. And I always say to them, I want to eventually just become your bowling machine. You must tell me what you want to do. I'm going to throw the ball where you want me to have the ball thrown, and that's it. You know, I'll help here and there if needs be. But at the end of the day, you've got to take all of that responsibility and run with it. But I mean, that's not all the way throughout that pipeline. But I digress. The coaches would then need to be of complete understanding that the level of my coaching is going to dictate the level of how the boys or girls play, as well as the numbers that keep coming back. You know, a coach is definitely more than just teaching of skill. You've really got to know your players at whatever age you're at. Know your players, have a relationship with them, really know what's going on in their lives if they allow you that. And you know, if they allow you to know that much about what's going on in their lives, then you've built up a really good trusting relationship with them, and they will want to keep coming back.
You also have quite a big involvement with parents getting involved in their kids' development. And I always like to believe that it's, I know I get questioned on it quite a bit, but they just want the best for their kids, and they want their kids to grow. And so I always take from like a positive perspective. I do know that some parents try and live their lives again through their kids, or and get over involved. So coaches face this all the time. So how do coaches deal with these kind of parents?
I've had my fair share of parents. I'm sure all the coaches have. What I've actually just learned on this elite coaching course that Gary Kirsten is having, and the one aspect of the course was player management, and in the one topic was engaging with all stakeholders. You know, and I learned that I wasn't doing that enough as a coach at under 19 level. And best thing I would say is call a meeting, lay out your coaching philosophy to all the parents, to the school, to the head of sport, to the principal. Lay out your coaching philosophy, lay out how you're going to do things this year, and you lay out how you're going to go about coaching the boys or the girls. You know, so if my coaching philosophy is to see the growth of players to become responsible with their own game, and to offer them the best opportunity to succeed on and off the field, then that's my philosophy. So then the parents and the school knows. And then lay out how I'm going to do this, especially at the younger ages. You don't want to box a child into just a batter or just a bowler. So say my idea would be to rotate the batting lineup. So you'll bat 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then the next thing you'll bat Number 6 will go 1, 2, and then like that, you know. So you kind of swap it around. But we're not going to have bowlers who really can't bat just yet opening the batting. So we're still going to protect the child, you know. We're still going to grow those skills as well. And then the last thing about having all the parents buy in, you know, have them know that communication channels are open. This is how you're going to do it. And this is how they can contact me or contact you. And that you're open to parents coming to you, not to complain, but to ask questions, because they know upfront what is going to happen in the season. And if the growth of the child is your main goal, then that is the main goal. And if the child grows and improves as a player, well done, goal achieved. If your goal is to win the competition at the end of matric, you know, then that is the goal. But also how you put those things in place of how you're going to get to that goal. Understand? Because I mean, on the day, the opposition can just have a brilliant game, and then you end up second. You know, so I think things like that, with parents understanding and the coach being open to communication and just having enough conversations with parents, I think will put a lot of coaches and parents' minds at ease, because at the end of the day, everybody is wanting the best for the child that's your child and for the child that I'm coaching.
Yeah, and I think it's also trying to explain to a parent that if they're in the phase of the mass participation phase where all the kids must just play, that's the phase that they're in. Yes, you want to improve the skills of that child, but you also want to have their natural abilities come through. Then you've got the phase where you're actually working on the skills of the child, and then the phase where you're looking at the strategy and things like that. So as long as they understand that at 6 years old, you're not working on strategy, you know, that kind of side of things. I've got a question here from Mary Jones. She says, how can I get hold of the contact details of the Western Province Coaches Forum?
Okay, so we've got our coaching manager, Charles Klache. So you can email him actually. I don't know if I can, Sean, if I can put it on in the chat, or if you can put it in the chat there.
You should be able to put it on the chat, or would it be on the Western Province website?
I'm not 100% sure. Oh, yes, the chat. I can put it in here.
Okay.
And then they can just email Charles, and he'll be able to let you know. I'll see.
It's just Charles here Cricket, isn't it?
There we go. I think, did they pop up?
Yeah, it did.
There we go. You can contact him, and then he'll be able to send you or put you onto a mailing list, and then you'll be able to get all the information through like that.
And it works the same in the other different provinces. And I know rugby works the same. I think netball's got the same kind of thing going. So everybody, if you contact your sporting body in your region, they should be able to put you in contact with these forums. Do any of your forums, like you personally, do you deal with the ladies in netball or hockey, or talk to people across sports to find out, you know, to get common ideas and thoughts?
No, not quite yet. I know that Charles was kind of thinking of getting somebody in from like a different sport to explain something in a different way, but we haven't done that quite just yet.
Okay, so with this Western Province Coaches Forum, now do you have also coaches from different levels? So for example, you have a senior coach from like a high school, or like, I know from your level, you do it from the Western Province unit, but like you get some high school cricket coaches, and you get some club coaches, and you get some junior school coaches. Are they all able to talk to each other and get their ideas across? Yeah,
100%. So the forum is open to everybody from primary school, high school, doesn't matter what age group you coach, doesn't matter what team you coach. You're all invited to a forum if you're on the coaches database, you know. So that's why I say, if you want to get in touch and get information about the forums, then just email Charles and you put you onto the database. And then you can, regardless of what age you coach, from mini cricket all the way through to senior men club cricket at Premier League, whatever, you can come through to the forums and have a listen.
Mary Jones just replied back also saying that she's thinking of a coaching clinic for primary school teachers. And that definitely she can talk directly through to Claire, through to Charles, sorry, and he can actually assist with that, couldn't he?
Yes, yeah, no, he would then assist with that, with the webinars and things like that. We haven't had a meeting just yet, but when we do, I'll definitely bring that up, because I can just say in my coaching, I try and employ different aspects from different sports that is similar to cricket. So we would go to the driving range, or I would have baseball bats, like bring your bats, come to cricket, or a hockey stick, you come to training, and we would then use those tools in cricket training, you know. So I'm very much open to having a webinar or something like that that can bring a different sporting aspect, but still relates to coaches in general.
And then we've got what skills are required for coaches to be able to assess their team's effectiveness?
Like, what is meant by effectiveness?
So what do you mean by a team's effectiveness?
Because at the end of the day, yeah. Sorry, at the end of the day, it's what you want to achieve as a team. So if you want to achieve growth, where you say you in a 50-over game, you're getting bowled out before 50 every single time you play. So when you bat a full 50 overs, that's achieving. That is effective towards your team, because that was your goal. You know, whereas is it effective for an individual player if I'm struggling with a pull and I'm training, and my processes are in place, and eventually I employ the pull in the game, that's also been effective. So that training towards that has also been effective for that individual. That's why I asked the question.
I've been asked a question. Sorry, Marty, I actually misunderstood you initially, but Marty says that with COVID-19, she works in gymnastics, and they're holding webinars as well. She asked if did you ever think of exchanging your coaches forum when it comes to guest speakers? So invite people from different sporting codes to come into your forums, coaching forums.
Yeah, like I said, so Charles had that conversation. We haven't put it in place yet, but when we meet again, then I'll definitely bring it up again to remind him, because that's why I say I employ different types of sports in my coaching. So I think that crossover would also be great when it comes to coaches in general.
I know from I mean we got a KFC one coming up on Tuesday this week, and we've got guest speakers from we've got motivational speakers. We've also had people from disabled sports, from swimming, from other kind of other sports, where they've given their stories and actually passed on their ideas and thoughts through to the coaches. So I know that from like Cricket South Africa level, they're actually trying to do that. And they just said from Western Province, Charles is trying to do that very well on his side. There's another thing that you were talking to me the other day about, is actually your police clearances for your coaches and your vetting of coaches, especially when you're dealing with junior age groups. That's quite important, isn't it?
Yeah, 100% important. And there's obviously reasons for that. To have a clear record as a coach, because you not only put kind of the school's mind at ease or the union's mind at ease, but the parent as well. You know, if the school can say you've been vetted, or the union can say you've been vetted, that you are clear as a coach, I'm sure that will put a parent's mind more at ease, especially when you're a new coach in the environment. I've heard of too many things happen where coaches who aren't, they got the coach title, but they're not attached to any union or attached to any forum or whatever, you know, and they're working at a school or they're working with kids, and things happen. And this is not to blame, but this is also because we don't always vet our coaches. You know, we don't always get that the police clearance. And they've had this now in, say, in the UK or overseas for a while now, where if you're working with kids, you need that clearance. You know, and I think it's just a bit of a more effective way to just cut down if somebody does have something on their record. You know, to me, it makes me feel at ease even. And I don't even have kids. that other coaches have a clear record, and they're working in my pipeline, and they're working with young girls, and they're good to go. You know, it puts my mind at ease as well.
Yeah, it's unfortunately it's fortunate that it's coming out to light, but there's this new what's a Netflix series where it talks about it in gymnastics, and it unfortunately, the way that they put it out there makes gymnastics seem negative, but it's not. Gymnastics is a great sport, and they're phenomenal coaches. But you got to watch out for that odd coach that appears somewhere. And athletics, I mean, the whole thing about those coaches, I think they were the Nike coaches, and how they were, they've been caught out in the way they treat, especially the female athletes. Female athletes that are dropping the weight to like 38 kilos or something ridiculous, and it's not their natural body weight, and they're expected to perform. So there's quite a bit of a look on to, you know, vetting your coaches and seeing who your coaches are. And this is from very high levels. So I can imagine. We also had an incident and Rondebosch High School did very well at it, where there was a guy that was hanging around one of the cricket tournaments that we're having. And the school themselves, we didn't even pick it up. The school themselves picked up that there's somebody else here that they don't know who he is. They went and found out who he was. And it was something that the police were kind of looking for. So it was very actively done by the school, which was really impressive. I was really impressed by the school. And I'm sure a lot of schools do that. But it's very important. It's not just a piece of paper to have. It's actually a guarantee for the parents.
100%, 100%. And it's a guarantee for the school as well, you know. Or like I say, whatever union you're with, it's that peace of mind. That piece of paper gives you peace of mind.
Does it also, you know, with Cassie, she deals a lot with 67 blankets, and they do a lot of work in prisons and stuff. And some people have got there because of, you know, the bad lot in life. They can't put food on the table, so they've stolen from somebody to put food on the table for their kids, and they end up in prison and stuff. And a lot of these people have come back totally reformed. They're giving back to the communities. They're phenomenal people that are coming out. And that piece of paper will also, you know, because they can still get that piece of paper from the police clearance, saying that they have reformed, they've had a bad start. And it's a nice place for these kind of people to actually start getting back into community again too.
100% agree there.
Okay, so I've been asked a question here. One hears a lot about the pipeline process. What exactly is it? And do players form part of the pipeline, and at what level?
Okay, so your pipeline is just basically your different age groups. So under 13, so the boys have under 11, under 13, and then they've got under 15, under 17, under 19 and academy, where the girls have under 13, under 16, and under 19, okay? So that's the two different aspects of the pipeline. Now the boys pipeline will have a coach at under 13 level that's employed by the union. Under 15, under 17 will have one coach, also like me, a framework coach. And then under 19 and academy will also have a framework coach. So then we form part of the framework. Where the girls have an under 13 coach that's employed just for that short space of time when they're prepping for tournament. Under 16s as well, that's coach for the short prep time for tournament. And then I take the under 19s and the women. So I'm the only permanent coach. So that pipeline leads all the way from primary school all the way through. Now the thing is that the handover of those kids would then move through the pipeline as they move through the age group. So the coaching done there, the coach would speak to the next coach, identify players, and then they'll move on, and then they'll move on. The thing is, you'll still have trials though. So as you get older, you'll move through the pipeline, but you'll have to still attend trials, you see, and that's obviously done through the schools as well. The same thing with schools where you're moving to different grades, which then you end up moving to different age groups at school in your sports teams. That's the school pipeline then. See, does that answer the question?
I think so. It's also a certain set of regulations. As you said, it's certain criteria that for each grade age group, and it's not just it's well thought out. So it's done together with biokineticists and physiotherapists and doctors, and so you know that a certain a child at a certain age, a psychologist too. A child at a certain age can only do certain things, and build it up slowly so they can eventually become they grow up to an adult, and they've got a much higher level of coaching and that kind of stuff.
And that was also important why the coaches also need to know about the long-term play development, you know, about that word and how to go about that.
No, more of a difficult question. There's a lot of, and you know, we've discussed like the gender-based violence issues. Now, how do you prepare your coaches and players and administrators for, firstly, if it happens within the sport? I don't know of any cases in cricket, but it has happened in other sports. Or if you've got a player that comes from something in the background, how do you prepare them? And are there some structures that you can prepare to set up and assist a child that comes from this kind of a background?
Yeah, so this is why it's important that you do attend any forums, because we actually had a forum on gender-based violence, but it wasn't specific to girls. Obviously, there were a lot more girls that were exposed to this. And I think it was, she was from the police. I'm sure she was a colonel in police, but she had explained how things are done and the way that people do certain things to gain trust from the kids, etc., etc. So just to sit in and listen on that just broadens the knowledge for what the coach needs to look out for. You know, because we spend so much time with these kids and what we can look out for, whether it be signs of abuse, whether it be emotional abuse, if they shy away or if they flinch, anything, you know, just signs to look out for. You also get when players come to you and tell you these things. And that's when you've built up that relationship with them, that they can come to you because there's that trust between coach and player. So it's really difficult. It's a bit of both. It's that relationship that you built with the player, and it's also knowing what to look out for. That's why I would, like I say, I would recommend if there's anything like that out there, that there is a forum or a webinar or something on that coaches go and listen to it. It's difficult to listen to, it's difficult to hear, but if you know what to look out for, you can then help hopefully help that child or get some information out of the child. If you do know, or if you see signs that something untoward might be happening in with her, with him, at home, or anything like that. Yeah, that's something that
we actually are going to host, because some of our webinars in the future are actually going to be themed webinars. And the specific theme that we are going to do is about, it's going to cover that. So we're going to have the gender-based violence, we're going to have bullying, and we're going to have a third coach talking about mental illness. All things that you need to look out for and how to approach it. I think from my perspective, I just see that you create a safe haven for a child to play in sport. Doesn't matter what the child is. They must feel comfortable, must feel happy, must feel, you know, must be able to trust you and believe in you. And the coach must create like a safe environment where eventually the kid will be able to come out and talk. I do feel that if you do find it, you do pick it up and you have found those key things. For a coach, it's not to get involved directly in it. It's rather to contact the right person to get involved, because you could actually end up causing trouble. You could say the wrong thing or approach the parent, and then that'll cause more violence onto the child than what the child was having in the first place. So, and that's why, as I said, to get a person that's an expert in that field to talk about it. And there are helplines that you can phone. There are, if you do find it. But the first thing is to create a safe environment. The kids can actually open up to you and talk to you, and then from there onwards, you move it to a person that's actually experienced in that field and qualified to deal with these kind of children.
100%. I mean, you can always, as a coach, you can always be there with the kid or with the child through this process. You know, if they need to lean onto you, if they need to hold your hand, to speak to the professional, then so be it. If it is allowed. I think at the end of the day, the coach is that person then who needs to be that pillar of strength for the child or for the person. Because if they will then go through this alone, I don't think they'll go anywhere. I don't think they'll go to the person who actually knows what to do. I think they'll just go back home and ride it out, you know. And we don't want that happening. We want kids to know that we are a safe environment. We are a safe place to come to, and we will help you move in the right direction to the person who can help you the best. You know, if you still need our help during that time, we're still here for you. They need to know that there's always somebody behind them.
There's a good program, and it's from your neck of the woods, and with Goldendale Cricket Club, where they've created a safe haven there. So you've got a lot of schools in that area that are in gang-related, a lot of gang violence, gang areas. And you got coaches taking kids to Galvindale and playing sport. I mean, Galvindale's amazing. It's the most beautiful
100%.
place.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, and Galvindale has been around for a very long time, years. And the different people that come through there and the different schools that come through there, I can really say it's really is, it's that place where you can go to relax. As a kid, you're not scared of being shot, if I can put it that way. You know, you're there, it's safe, you can let go. You don't have to be tensed up all the time. You can have fun with other kids while you're there. And the people at Galvindale Cricket Club, they're just amazing. Really they are. I know, like, I started out there, I should have good things to say, but this is all true. Gee whiz, from tennis to soccer to cricket to hockey, it's all there at the club. It's really fantastic, and it's really it's a safe place for kids to go, for anybody to go, actually, and the people there, like I say, they're really there to help you. Doesn't matter who you are. But like I mentioned now about that person that is always going to stand behind you, you'll find at least one person at Galvindale who will always be standing behind somebody who needs help.
I know. I mean, I don't know about how many Proteas women have come from Galvindale, but not from men. You've got Alvera Peterson, you've got Robin Peterson, you've got Ashwell Prince, you've got just Ghana Kruger, I think, came from there. You've got such a list of phenomenal players that came from Galvindale Cricket Club. And, you know, in talking to Robin Peterson, he says that he used to leave the house and grab the first sporting equipment that he had. So he had a golf club and used to go and play golf there. He had a tennis racket, and it's a community club. It's not a private club. It's for any kid, any community.
Yeah.
And the facilities are top notch. And it'll be nice to see a lot more of those. There are some, like the Soweto Cricket Club that started that, and there's some clubs in Soweto. They've got Altric, Oval, and Alex. They've got a couple of places where they've set up similar kind of things. But for me, Galvindale is one of the best examples. Now, here's some questions. I think two questions that will go a little bit together, and I think they'll make you smile too, especially considering that you are coach of the Western Province women's side, and your team, I think you've got a bit of a challenge from Northwest.
Yeah.
But you've got, how do you ensure your players firstly peak at the correct time, and then how do you reduce arrogance when your team is constantly winning?
So ensuring that your players peak at the correct time is how you set up your periodization, you know, so how you set up your season. If you're going to go light in the beginning and then harder and full out towards in season, that's not really going to work. They're going to burn out. So if you build up in the off season and you build up to working harder, then you can kind of tone it down a bit, because then I'm talking just fitness wise now, tone it down a bit so you can maintain during season. Because as soon as you start playing matches, you automatically still become fit because you play matches so often. So it's more about maintenance there. Skill wise, a lot of skill work in the off season. I'm talking about basic drop balls, underarm drills. So you get the fundamentals, you get it down 100%. You know, you really focus on that. And it can be tiring because you focus on something that's so basic, can be taxing to make it completely perfect. And that's what you want when you're working with fundamentals. So to do that in the off season, and then obviously build when the nets are ready and when you can go outside in Cape Town. It looks like we can go outside now already. Nets are ready, and you can then go and train outside. And that's when you start your net sessions. So you're bowling to batters while you're still having your throwdowns. And then closer to training, closer to competition, then you start doing your middle sessions, your scenario-based sessions, your game plans, things like that, to really get the goals just on that peak when season starts. And then during season is when you tweak here and there where you need to. You see, so what your goals are set out at off season, you tweak during season if you need to. If things aren't quite going in the direction that you are wanting it to go as a team, tweak here and there and see how it works in during the season. With regards to the arrogance of winning all the time, it's what you set as a coach. So the team values, what we've spoken about as a team, do we live those values? Are we showing those values? Do we live it on and off the field? So that's the main thing that you set to work out at the beginning. Do we want to be a team that's arrogant? If you want to be a team that's arrogant, then the coach is also going to be involved in that decision. You see, because it's a whole team decision. So set up in the beginning, team values. This is what we want as a team. to portray throughout the season, even when we're winning. How are we going to portray ourselves? Are we humble when we win? Are we humble when we lose? You know, are we a team that takes responsibility for ourselves? Are we a team that is kind? You know, so at the beginning of the season, set out what you want to do and want to be as a team, but it needs to be something that is not forced, because you want to be that team on the field and off the field. You don't want to be something on the field and then fake off the field, you know? So something that can be done almost naturally as a whole. So I think that should help you with the whole arrogance thing.